So I don't know if the camera's picking it up. There's some guy over there with like a drill and the like cart rack thing, the thing where like you rack up all the carts, you put the carts away. He's like undrilling the poles. He's like taking out the poles. He's like taking out the whole cart rack. There's like 9 of them and he's taking one of them out. I don't know what the heck's happening here. I don't know if you guys can hear the drill. Okay, he's not doing it right now. Let's see if he does it in a second. And he's just like throwing the metal on the ground. No, he put the drill in a cart. I don't know what the heck he's doing. I didn't know they did that. Anyways, welcome to PapAmiibos, the Amiibo hunting videos that I do. If this is your first time watching one of my Amiibo hunting videos, I'll tell you right off the bat that these have very little to do with Amiibos themselves. I usually just tell stories in my car waiting for the store to open and I can go buy some Amiibos. So today we're waiting on Pokemon Trainer Pichu and Isabelle of the Super Smash Bros. Amiibo series. And yeah, I'm just in the parking lot waiting for the store to open. I'm not even 100% positive this guy that is undrilling these metal pipes off of the cart rack actually works here. He's just in a gray shirt and black pants, and this is Target, so he's not in a red shirt. So I have no idea what's going on with this. Maybe he just needs metal pipes. Anyway, I usually just tell some stories while I'm sitting here, so I guess I'll tell some stories. I kind of ran out of Amiibo stories. I think I have like one okay Amiibo story left, but I really want to save it until I have other people who were with me that day in the car, and once again, it's just me alone. I think my brother was here last time. Wow, that was a while ago. We haven't had Amiibos in a while. Speaking of my brother, for those of you guys who are wondering, I know we haven't done a PapaGenos video in a while. It's mostly because he got a job and an apartment that's like a half hour, 45 minutes away-ish, and he's just not around as much, and when he is around, he doesn't really want to record, so we're not like through with those. It's just been really tough to record anything, so I need to kind of twist his arm and make him record a new PapaGenos video. I don't know if you guys heard that. He just dropped one of the pipes. Now he's sticking it in one of the carts. I have no idea what's up with this guy. Is he like a maintenance guy? And why is he undoing the... There's like I said, there's like 9 cart racks and he just took off a couple of pipes off of one of them. I have no idea what's going on. Okay, I might drive over there and try to get you guys a shot of this because it's just really weird. See, there's the cart with the metal poles in it. I'm not going to film the guy because I don't know how legal that is, but there's the cart with the poles in it. It's really weird. I don't know why he's taking the metal poles off of those racks. I mean, we've all had to resort to selling scrap metal at one time in our lives. This is just something people do. Okay, enough about the guy stealing metal poles. So we got Pokemon Trainer, Pichu, and Isabelle this wave, so I guess it would be appropriate to tell some Pokemon stories since 2 out of 3 of these Amiibo are Pokemon related. Okay, so the story's kind of funny. It's only tangentially related to Pokemon. It has to do with me going to see the Detective Pikachu movie, which I think is now out on DVD. So this was a couple months ago at this point. And this doesn't really have to do with the movie at all. This has to do with the previews. So I went to go see Detective Pikachu, and I'm sitting there in the previews, and they had a couple movies in a row, and just the movies in a row was quite funny to me. So the first one was a preview for the new Aladdin movie, which has Will Smith as the genie. So I didn't see the new Aladdin movie, but it has Will Smith as the genie. The next movie preview, this was like back to back, was a movie called Gemini Man, which I don't think is out yet. And the premise of the movie is Will Smith has a Will Smith clone or something, and he's like a secret agent, and he has to fight his clone. So this movie has 2 Will Smiths in it. So far we got the Aladdin movie, which all of a sudden has Will Smith in it now. We got Gemini Man, which got double your Will Smiths in it. And then after those 2, this is all back to back. The third movie preview was for the new Men in Black movie, which does not have Will Smith in it. So basically, it's like they need to portion out their Will Smiths better. Like, you got Aladdin, didn't need a Will Smith. You got Gemini Man, you got too many Will Smiths in that one. And then Men in Black, which I would assume should have Will Smith in it, it doesn't have Will Smith in it. They forgot to put him in. So, yeah, Hollywood needs to portion out their Will Smiths better. So another funny thing that happened with movie previews, I don't know if this was at Detective Pikachu. I don't remember what this was at. It was some movie I watched in the last couple months though. They had, so that movie, I think it already came out. It's called like Yesterday, and it's about like the Beatles. It's about like some guy who remembers the Beatles and no one else remembers the Beatles, and it's like he magically remembers the Beatles. So this was another back-to-back previews I got, and it was so funny. Me and my brother and my cousin, what movie did we see? I don't remember. Me and my brother and my cousin were in the theater though, and these previews were back to back. It was so funny. So the first one was Yesterday, and it's like some Indian dude like gets in like a motorcycle accident, and I think like the whole world. I didn't see the movie. I know it's out. Like there's like an electric flash or something. He goes to like an alternate dimension or something, and the difference is nobody remembers who the Beatles are. And so he remembers who the Beatles are, and he like plays music and gets famous, I guess, in like 2019. I don't really know if that would work. I mean, I have issues with the premise itself. I don't know if the Beatles would be all that popular today with just all the music that's happened since then. I feel like they're a product of their time. But regardless of that, so that's the first movie. Is Yesterday. So not that funny. Just watching. Okay, there's a preview. That's not the best idea for a movie, in my opinion. I feel like everybody who's ever listened to some music has like sat there going like, man, if I went back in time and like I could have made this song, I could have been as famous as this band. And then you just kind of like, it's like a thought that just enters your mind and then it just kind of goes away. And I didn't think I would make a movie about that thought. I feel like everybody's had a similar thought to that listening to some music. But anyway, so Yesterday preview happens. And then the next preview, the very next preview is, I don't know, what's the movie called? Born to Run, maybe, or something like that. It's about Bruce Springsteen, and the premise is very, like, extremely similar, like unbelievably similar. We were dying laughing. The premise is some guy, some Indian guy, like is the only guy who's into Bruce Springsteen. Now this one isn't magical like Yesterday. This one is just this dude, like his family doesn't know who Bruce Springsteen is because of like a culture gap, and his generation doesn't know who Bruce Springsteen is. So like his friend, like when he's telling him some lyric, he's like, that's a dumb lyric, man, you gotta work on your lyrics. It's like, oh no, that's a Bruce Springsteen lyric, stupid. Like, it's a really famous song, but you don't know about it because you're from a generation that doesn't know about it. So somehow I feel like how did both these movies happen? Like, it's unbelievable to me. We were in the theater just dying laughing how they were essentially the same exact premise with two different, like, musicians and musical bands, whatever. The Beatles are a band. Bruce Springsteen's a guy. I mean, he has his band, but whatever. The only thing I can think of is that, like, some producer guy or movie guy, like, went to some producer and was like, hey, I got this great idea for a movie. Oh, what's your idea? Some dude remembers a band and nobody else remembers them, and the producer's like do they not like they remember them and nobody else does? Like, is it magic, or does like just the people around him don't know the band? And the guy's like, I don't know, man, let's make both movies. And they went ahead and they made both movies. One of them is the Beatles and it's magical, and the other one is Bruce Springsteen and it's not magical. It's just a culture gap and a generational gap. And they're like the exact same premise. It's such a specific premise. I can't believe both those movies happened. And I got both movie previews back to back. Me and my brother and my cousin, we were just dying laughing in the theater. It was unbelievable. So speaking of the Aladdin movie with Will Smith in it, I saw The Lion King. I saw the new Lion King movie. It was all right. It really wasn't necessary. I mean, I'm kind of against remakes in general, and they're like remaking like all the Disney movies, so it was pretty unnecessary. It's weird. It looks really good. Like the CGI'd animals are amazing. They're honestly like pretty impressive, but that is both the strongest and weakest part of the movie. Like, the CGI'd animals can't emote like the cartoon ones can. Like, there's no emotion in their faces, so it really takes away from like the whole movie, because they kind of did like almost a lot of scenes are like shot for shot remake, except instead of like seeing Simba's face, be like all emotional and stuff, it's like you're just staring at a lion. Like, it's just a very realistic looking lion and the camera's just zooming in on him. So while it looks really impressive, and that's almost like the only reason to go see it, because it's pretty much exactly the same. The no emotions in the faces kind of hurt it. So, I mean, obviously with these movies, just watch the originals. There's no real reason to go see these. I went with my little sister because she wanted to go see it, but really no reason to see it. One other weird thing about it is one of the songs is like specifically set at night. Can You Feel the Love Tonight? That's what it's called. So it has like night in the lyrics and in the title of that song and stuff. And they said it during the day. It's like happens in the afternoon. It's a really weird choice. I don't know what was up with that. That was like my only like that's weird thing with the movie. Other than that, it's just a remake. It's not that great. Okay, I'm kind of losing track of time here. They're about to open, actually. And I said I was going to talk about, Pokemon, and I just used Detective Pikachu as a segue to talk about movies. So I will tell you guys a Pokemon story, but I'm going to get out of the car. I'm going to go over there and see what Amiibos they have. Okay, so I'm back. They did have some Amiibos, but they only had the Pokemon ones. So I still need to get Isabelle. So we will drive somewhere else and hopefully find me and Isabelle. So I just drove over to Walmart. I don't even know why I go to Walmart anymore. They never, ever have any new Amiibos. And of course, this time, no new Amiibos. I don't know about Walmart and wherever you guys live, but man, my Walmart does not get Amiibos anymore. Target gets like some of them. Like I got Pichu and Pokemon Trainer. And this was actually the first time Target had the Amiibos on the shelf. Usually I go in and I have to ask, like I have to find somebody and be like, hey, I'm looking for something that came out today, and they haven't even put it on the shelf. But they were on the shelf today. But they don't always get all of them. So, no Isabelle this time. And it's weird. Isabelle is like, this is going to be my third version of Isabelle. Like I have the original Isabelle from the Animal Crossing line. And then there was one that came with, what was it? Was it Amiibo Festival? Was that the name of the game? The one that it was like her and her brother, I think, are in like a 2-pack with the game. So I have that one. And this is going to be my third different Isabelle Amiibo. It's kind of weird how many they have for her. So anyway, Walmart didn't have them. I'm outside GameStop now. GameStop is one of the better places for Amiibos, but they open later than everywhere else. They open at 10. Target's like 7. I think Walmart is even like 6, but again, Walmart never has them, so I don't even bother going there. Usually I just went there to kill some time. But now I'm outside GameStop. It's about half hour before they open. The other really good place for Amiibos is Best Buy, but we don't have a Best Buy in my town anymore, so I'd have to drive like an hour to a Best Buy, so hopefully they have Isabelle at GameStop, and I can just be done with this, and I don't have to make a really long trip. I'd probably do it later today, because Best Buy actually gets like good shipments, so even though GameStop tends to get all of them, they get like sometimes they get like one of them and stuff like that. At least my GameStop does. It's a kind of small GameStop, but Best Buy actually seems to get real legitimate shipments of all the Amiibos. So I got pretty off track when I was talking before. I said I'd tell stories about Pokemon because Pokemon Amiibos are coming out, and I kind of just used that to talk about Detective Pikachu and instantly segue into talking about movie previews and movies I saw. I should really do just like a podcast to talk about random stuff. PapaGenos, I think I've talked about this before, but yeah, I should totally do that podcast at some point. But until I do that, I do have to kill some time before GameStop opens. So how about I tell an actual Pokemon-related story? I don't know if I've ever told this one before on like the channel. I know I probably haven't told it on PapAmiibos here. I don't think so. But I'm just going to tell how I originally got into Pokemon, because it's a little interesting. I'm very hipster with Pokemon. I was one of the first people, I think, in the West anyway, to get into Pokemon. So yeah, I'm going to be real hipster about it and say I think I can claim that. So the first time I saw anything legitimately Pokemon, I think, was Nintendo Power. It was an issue that has Star Fox 64 on the cover. It has Star Fox on the cover, and they had like a 4 or 5 page article on Pocket Monsters. It was Pokemon in Japan, like the Pokemon craze, and they showed like a picture of the anime. They showed a bunch of like a little bit of the game. They showed some of the gym leaders. They showed some like action figures and stuff. It was just talking about how Pokemon was like exploding in Japan. And that was the first time I saw anything Pokemon. However, and this is why I can kind of claim being real hipster about Pokemon, and maybe one of the first people in the West to really get into it, They called it Pocket Monsters, and I didn't realize this was the first time I had seen Pokemon. I actually thought it was something else that I used to be into when I was a kid. So when I was way younger, there were these things called Monster in My Pocket. They were made by Matchbox, and they were these little rubber figurine monsters, and they were like folklore monsters or like cryptozoological monsters like Bigfoot and stuff. And they were just little rubber, like one color kind of, like, I mean, they were multicolored. There's a bunch of different ones, but each one was just like entirely green, entirely red, entirely blue, whatever. And you collected them, and they were just pretty cool. There's little rubber monsters, and for some reason, when I was a kid, I called them Pocket Monsters. I don't know why I couldn't call them Monster in My Pocket. I called them Pocket Monsters. I changed the name in my own head or whatever. And I thought they were really cool. I still have a shoebox collection of them. And there was an old NES video game called Monster in My Pocket. And I think it came with like one rubber figure with the game. And the game was pretty good. It's a pretty good NES game. I really loved it when I was a kid. I just thought it was so cool. I was really into monsters. So when Nintendo Power put out that article calling Pokemon Pocket Monsters, and that was pretty much, what they really highlighted, like the back of the Japanese Pokemon cards say Pocket Monsters. Like in the early days of Pokemon in Japan, they were called Pocket Monsters all the time, and that's what the Nintendo Power article called them. So in my mind, I was like, oh man, this is Monster in My Pocket. This is Pocket Monsters. For some reason, I didn't remember that I was the one that had renamed them in my own head, and I was like, they're coming back, and this makes sense because there was an NES video game. So yeah, maybe Nintendo owned that all the time. I had no idea, and I don't know why it's coming back, and it's huge in Japan. And I think specifically because one of the images was of this Japanese kid with a ton of little tiny figurines in front of him, Pokemon figurines, and I thought for sure this meant this was Pocket Monsters. It was coming back. So I'm not sure what the date on that Nintendo Power article was, but it was like a year and a half before actual Pokemon, like the anime and the video games, like the Game Boy games, came over to the United States. But for that full year after reading that article, I was super excited about it because I thought it was Monster in My Pocket coming back, and I loved that when I was really little. So I was super psyched, and it was super early days of the internet. I remember typing in Pocket Monsters and looking at a Japanese web page that would take forever to load just to get a few images of some of the monsters, and I could never find a full list of all. So I just ate up anything I could find about Pokemon, and then when I started hearing this is when the game's coming out, this is when the anime's coming out, I watched the first episode as soon as it happened. I got the game the day it came out, so that is my claim to being into Pokemon, maybe before most people were. I can be really hipster about this, and it was entirely because of Monster in My Pocket and me not associating Pokemon correctly. Interestingly enough, they actually sued Pokemon. I'm pretty sure Monster in My Pocket sued Pokemon for the similar name. So I wasn't that crazy. I wasn't the only person who thought this. So yeah, that happened eventually, and I was like, aha, I'm not the only person who made that mistake. But I'm glad I made that mistake because I was right there as soon as the anime came out. Watched the first episode. As soon as the games came out, I was right there and everything. The Pokemon cards I remember I got, though I think the cards came out a little later. The Pokemon craze had already somewhat started when the cards came out. I also remember I went to camp for a week or a weekend. It was a short camp thing that I went to, and this was during the original run of the anime. It was not very far into it. It was the episode with the samurai guy who, I think it's a Metapod versus Metapod battle with Ash. I was at camp that week, so I missed that episode, and I was pretty mad about it. But there was this kid, Jeremy, that I went to camp with, and all I would talk about was Pokemon. I was just super into Pokemon. The anime had just came out. That was all I would talk about. I remember I drew on a rock. I took a crayon and turned a rock, a round rock, into a Pokeball. And I wanted to go play Pokemon Trainer. And my friend Jeremy hadn't heard of it yet. And that was all I was talking about. And I'm sure, I was way younger. I was probably 10-ish. So I'm sure I was kind of annoying about it. But I was super into Pokemon. I was always talking about, and he hadn't heard of it. And then a few months later, I went to camp with, it was him and his sister were both at that camp. A few months later, I got a letter from them, basically saying thank you so much for telling us about Pokemon. When we got home, we ended up watching the show. We both love the show. We think it's great. We love we got the games. We love it. We were some of the first kids in our school to talk about it. So I don't know if I still have that letter somewhere, but I remember getting that letter afterwards and being yeah, I'm a trendsetter. I started this fad or whatever. So yeah, I can be kind of hipster about Pokemon sometimes because of that. So yeah, that's how I first got into Pokemon story, and my claim to fame being a hipster about Pokemon, being into it before most people were around here. I don't really have any good Animal Crossing stories, I don't think. Actually, no. Okay, this is decent. I mean, it's really short. I actually turned on the GameCube Animal Crossing. Well, my brother turned on our GameCube Animal Crossing game because he hadn't played. He's never played Mario Sunshine. He had watched me play it when he was younger, but he had never actually played it. So my brother wanted to play through some old GameCube games, and he brought down like a stack of them. And one of them was, obviously Mario Sunshine. He played through that. I think he 100%ed it a couple days ago, actually. But then the other game that he had was our old Animal Crossing. So he turned it on, and it had been, if I'm right about this, 127 months since we had played Animal Crossing on GameCube. So yeah, Mr. Rossetti gave us a talking to. All the people in our town missed us, I guess. It had been a while since we turned that one on. I had also kind of forgotten that Animal Crossing came with its own memory card because the game was so big it needed like a full memory card. So that helped, because usually when I'm playing old GameCube games or like PS2 games, I have like a stack of like 10 memory cards for each, and I don't know which memory card is for which games. But the Animal Crossing one's easy because the game came with it and it had the sticker on it. So we were able to actually, turn that on and look at our old town and stuff. I didn't actually get that far. In some of the DS ones, I have like a pretty big house, but that one I still have a little tiny house with not that much furniture. Just killing time here. I don't know what else to talk about. The other day, this was kind of funny. So this is a Seth MacFarlane thing. So the guy who makes like Family Guy and American Dad and Cleveland Show, which my Discord has some Cleveland Show like joke thing about the Cleveland Show like theme song theory or something like that, because the Cleveland Show gives away what Smash characters are coming. I don't know. It's like a joke. So anyway, I was in Barnes & Noble the other day, and I saw a CD for a Seth MacFarlane like CD. And it's like him on like a piano, and he's got like a scotch drink in his hand, and I thought it was a joke. I thought it was like, oh, he came out with like a joke CD, and no, it's like dead serious. And then I found another one in like the albums, and it was right next to a Frank Sinatra album, which I found so funny. And it's a different like record, like it's a different album. So like Seth MacFarlane puts out like lounge singer Frank Sinatra music. Like I know he's like super into that. I feel like me and Seth MacFarlane, like we would never get along. Like if I hung out with him, I think he would drive me nuts, because like his whole idea of like the coolest thing in the world, like we've never gotten any cooler than like 1950s, like you get in a suit and you go to the bar and you're just a 50s man, Frank Sinatra lounge singer guy. Like that is his like epitome of cool. He sticks it in like everything he does, and I'm not like ragging on his shows or whatever. I think he has kind of too many animated shows, but like I've laughed at probably all, maybe not Cleveland Show. I don't know. I feel like the worst jokes get over to the Cleveland Show. But like Family Guy, American Dad, I've laughed at those shows. They're pretty good. Seth MacFarlane, I know, like, they're good enough. They're funny enough. They're not my favorite shows. But Seth MacFarlane, like, I think he started on, I don't know if he started, but he worked on Johnny Bravo, and I got to give him credit for that, because Johnny Bravo is great. But like, he loves that, like, Frank Sinatra, lounge singer man, 50s guy, like that's just the coolest to him. And like I feel like if I hung out with him, like he'd be into like Broadway and New York in the 50s, and I'm just like, dude, I don't want to be a socialite. Like that is like the lamest thing to me. I don't know how he like loves that stuff, but he is all about it. And I think ironically enough, he sticks like tons of like Broadway musical segments into like Family Guy and American Dad and stuff, and they always suck. They're always like the worst part of the show. You just like wait for it to be over, and I find it so ironic because the South Park guys, who I don't think are all that into like 50s lounge singer Broadway man stuff. Like they actually made the Mormon musical. The South Park movie is like an amazing musical. Like I think they are great. Whenever there's South Park does singing, I'm always like, that's hilarious. Like that's one of the funniest parts of the show. And Seth MacFarlane just sucks at it. And now I saw in Barnes & Noble these albums where he's not even trying to like joke about it. Like he actually is like, okay, now they've made these cartoons and Ted or whatever, I can use my fame to finally live my dream and be Frank Sinatra man. It's like, that's what you want to be? Like that's your ultimate? It's so weird. So weird. I don't think I would ever I don't think I'd ever get along with Seth MacFarlane in real life. So GameStop's opening their doors, so I'm gonna go check and see. Hopefully they have an Isabelle, and then I don't have to drive super far to Best Buy. I feel like if they don't have an Isabelle, I may drive to Best Buy, but I'll probably do it later today. I'll probably just upload this and I'll do it later. So unfortunately, GameStop did not have Isabelle. I guess their stock of her is just super low everywhere. I found nowhere that had her. Walmart had none. Target didn't get Isabelle. GameStop didn't get Isabelle. They had 2 Pokemon Trainer and a bunch of Pichu. So I guess Isabelle's just super rare. It might be because the Animal Crossing Amiibos didn't sell so well. I mean, I know they're kind of shelf warmers. Like I still find them at like $5 below and stuff. So maybe they just anticipated that and didn't put out many Isabelle. So I guess I'll have to go online and get her, or drive over to Best Buy. Maybe I'll do that later today. But for now, no Isabelle, unfortunately. Good luck getting her if you're out there. My GameStop said that none of the GameStops in my whole region got an Isabelle, so that's kind of crazy. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and help me kill time while I'm waiting for these stores to open to see if I can get some Amiibos. See you next time. So once again, thank you guys for all the subscribes, all the likes. It really helps out the channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do so, or like the video, or leave a comment, whatever you want. Until next time, have a good one.